Today I'm going to share with you guys a game that I played online recently, and I was playing black. I played the French Defense Exchange variation. And the French Exchange is known as a very boring variation, very drawish, but I made this variation here very interesting and very sharp by castling long and attacking on the other side of the board. So this is how you can get some really interesting and attacking positions from the French Exchange if you're playing black, and I'm going to show you how to do this today. So here, my opponent played e4, and I responded by playing the French defense, the typical move e6 here. This is the typical move from the French defense, and my opponent played the move f4 from here. So this is a bit unusual, and I kept with my plan playing d5, and after takes, this is similar to a French exchange position. We just don't have the pawn on d4, and we have this pawn on f4 instead. So here I just, my opponent just played knight f3 and I played this move knight to c6, just developing my pieces. And notice here guys that I'm actually preparing to castle long. I'm going to develop my pieces on the queen side and castle queen side and attack on the king side. So after queen e2 check, I played bishop to e7 to cover, and after h3, I played knight to f6. I know my opponent is going to attack on the king side too, because I see they are already committing to the king side pawns. They are advancing their pawns. So I'm also expecting for that. d3 was played here, and after I played bishop to e6, f5 was played. I just took the pawn. It's just a free pawn. My opponent didn't calculate probably. So after g4, I dropped it back to e6. And after rook to g1, they are preparing this attack on the king side, but believe it or not, I'm going to castle on the opposite side of the board. I'm playing queen to d6 here and preparing to castle long. After c3, I played long castles, and my opponent's position is also not really good. You can see that it's really not really interesting to castle either side. So their king is very exposed. They are lined up on the e-file, so I'm already thinking about some attacking positions here, centralizing the rooks, trying to maybe go for some discoveries here, and that's what I'm going for. a3 was played. Very bad moves from my opponent in this point here. I played rook to the center of the board, and after queen to c2, I played this move h6 to prepare advancing on the king side, pawn storming against my opponent. Now that I have castled, I'm going to attack. d4 was played here in this position, and this moves takes over the control, removes the control over this square, allowing my knight to jump here, and that's exactly what I did right after this move was played. I jumped with my knight to e4, taking this very interesting outpost on the center of the board. No pawn from white can attack me here, so it's gonna be hard for the opponent to take this knight away from this square. I'm going to leave it there forever. After this move was played, I played f5 to cement my knight here in this position. a4 was played. They are advancing on the queen side now, and then here I just took the pawn, and after it takes, I just played this move, queen to d7 here, and I'm lining up now my pieces against that pawn. So bishop takes e4, d takes e4, I recaptured, and here my opponent played g5, allowing me to just capture this knight. For some reason I didn't go for that. So when you play faster time control, sometimes you miss obvious things like this, and this happens to any kind of player, so I missed this completely. I was so focused on this pawn that I decided not to take here for some reason. I decided to take this pawn. I was afraid maybe they would take here and take and have a very strong passed pawn. So I went for the capture first. I took the pawn with the bishop. And after bishop takes g5, knight takes g5, I took with the h pawn. And after rook takes, I played bishop to d5 here in this position. So now this pawn is defended by the rook. I have some really interesting prospects here of attack. All my pieces are very active, and white's pieces are very passive here. In the corner, you can see all these pieces are very passive here. So he played rook takes d5. I took the rook with the queen here. So it's another move that is very questionable from white here. So I took back with the queen, sorry. And then bishop to e3 was played. They're trying to develop the rest of the pieces they have here, but I'm already super winning this game. I played knight to a5, trying to maybe trade more pieces later on. Knight to c4 was my idea to trade for the bishop. Bishop to f4 was played. And then I played e3 in this position, advancing my pawn, my central pawn, that is passed. After queen to h3 check, I just covered the check with the queen. It's interesting for me to trade queens here because I'm up material, so and my position is more active. I just traded queens in this position, and if you count the material here, I'm winning this game. So a5 was played, a6 just to prevent any further advancements, knight a3. I'm happy to trade because I'm up material, I'm up the exchange here, as you can see, and I have even an extra pawn. And my two pawns are passed. Meanwhile, their pawns are very, very bad, in a bad structure. I kept pushing here. Rook to g7 to support the pawn. After bishop was played here, I just dropped the rook back. Rook to e1, g5, just advancing the pawn. c4 was played. I kept advancing g4. Rook to g1. And then I put my rook on a light square so the bishop cannot attack it, so c5 was played. I put the other rook here on the same file to further advance this pawn. Rook to h1 was played. g3, rook to g1 back. They have no moves. g2 was played. This pawn is very close to promoting. King takes my pawn here, and I played rook to f8 with the idea of playing rook to f1 and promoting that pawn somehow. Bishop to f4 was played here. I could have sacrificed here, maybe. It's an idea. King to d7 I played. d5 was played. I just played c6, and after takes. I have all the control over their pawns here. King to f3 was played. I took the pawn. They played king to e3. They have no moves. King to d5 here. I could have gone for the pawns on the other side of the board and take the pawns on the queen side. Rook to d1 check. I was bringing the king to the other side of the board. a4 was played. King f5, trying to bring the king towards the passed pawn, trying to promote it. Rook to c1, king to g4 was played. I'm bringing my king here. King defends the pawn now. This move was played. Bishop to e5. And after that, I play rook to f1. And here, they take the pawn. They take the pawn in this case. Here, I just took it back with the rook. And after bishop to c7, king to g4, this is just a very simple game to play. I just have to use the right technique here. I'm up so much material here with this very aggressive queenside castling setup that we can go for when we play the French defense. King e2 was played. I was bringing the king here to the other side of the board. And then I bring the rook, trying to create like a ladder mate here. I brought the rook to the other side of the board, and here I sacrificed the rook for the bishop. I mean, they have absolutely no counterplay. I'm up a rook, so I'm happy to sacrifice here. It means nothing to me. I'm up a rook, so I remove any counterplay that they might have. So rook to a3 to capture the pawns, and from here on, it's just a matter of gobbling the pawns, cutting the king back so the king cannot cross the c file here, and I'm promoting one of my pawns. That's what I did here. I promoted this to a queen with check. And here I just went for the ladder mate, which is the easiest setup possible. There is just no way to avoid checkmate here. And this is a very simple example of a game that I played using a very aggressive setup that you can go for when you're playing the French defense. You can castle queen side and go for a king side attack with a lot of activity. Who said that the French exchange is boring? This is not boring. This is very aggressive, very sharp tactical game. And if you liked this video, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel for more. And as always, I see you guys in the next one.